Welcome back to Nothing But Football, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, Ben, Henry are here, whatever. Doesn't matter about them today. Doesn't matter. We've got one of my favourite YouTubers actually in the footballing world on YouTube. Jordan from The Long Play, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We've been trying to get this on for a little while now, haven't we?
We have.
Thank you for coming. How you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me, chaps. It's good to be here. For those who don't know, I'm Jordan. I'm the founder of The Long Play. I create content online about the business of sports. I think the things that happen off the pitch are just as interesting, as entertaining, and as important as the things that happen on the pitch. So I'm creating a little media empire to bring that information to people in a lot more frequency. So
It's really,
thank you
really
for having
good.
me.
It's really, really good. Well researched, well edited, and well shot. Everything about it is fantastic. Some really, really good videos over there. So after you've watched this one, please head over there and check out Jordan. Ben, very quickly, how are you, mate?
I'm all right, thanks, mate. I'm good.
Glad to hear. Spurs.
4 games unbeaten now, mate.
4 games unbeaten, baby. Thomas Frank in, right?
Turn the tide. Yeah, Frank in, big time.
Beautiful.
He's turning the tide.
Beautiful. Henry Hill, how's things over there, mate?
Mate, I'm excited for today. Less of Ben's TikTok dribble, more actual facts and figures. Here we go, Jordan. Jordan, very exciting to have you on. This is my kind of podcast. So
Absolutely. I think it's just. I was going to say you're bitter. Actually, Zach's still bitter about that. Football joke quiz last Friday, aren't you, mate?
Oh, it's an absolute disgrace, by the way. These TikTok lads they need to know their place.
Enough of that TikTok dribble.
Yeah.
We came out on top that night, so that's
Ben,
all you
actually,
need to know.
me calling it TikTok dribble when my job is literally making quiz questions at the moment.
Well, there you go. I love a quiz.
Yeah,
Let's do more
with
of
deep insightful questions.
Very,
but
very
good
good.
questions.
Yeah, it was a very good quiz. Henry, Louis Saha was there as well. So
If you told me that I'd one day be presenting a live football quiz with Louis Saha, I'd have cried.
The Nothing But Football channel just creates dreams, doesn't it?
It really does.
It's like X Factor.
It really, really does. Yeah, it's like X Factor. So what we're going to do today, I think, is go into several different discussions, topics around money in football, from players' wages to how clubs are set up, multi-club structures, and where we kind of see it going, leaning more so on Jordan's expertise and research and what he's done over the last few years, and looking at how clubs are operating nowadays, especially compared to previously and over the years. It has changed massively. The amounts of money we see in football now, we talk about it all the time, about transfer fees. It feels like nowadays the 50 million transfer is what the 25 million transfer was maybe 10 years ago or so. And so, yeah, we're going to go into things and talk about different things. I think without further ado, let's just jump straight in to kind of ownership models and how clubs are operating nowadays, because it does feel like there are two set places really at the moment, Jordan. One being state ownership, and we've seen that with Man City. We've seen that with beforehand, maybe not quite state in terms of a country, but with Chelsea and Roman Abramovich. And now the kind of new model that we're seeing, again, actually involving Chelsea and being multi-club models, consortiums coming in, Manchester United, obviously, with their 1 or 2, like all this very different way of looking at football nowadays. How, from your viewpoint, is there a better version or is it all kind of depending on who it is?
It's very circumstantial, and it's very different for different countries, different clubs, and different fan types. There's several different models out there, and I did a video on this, breaking them all down. And every single one has a pro and a con, of course. So I don't think there's a particularly best and correct one. I always think my club, Man United, what would I like for my team and how I would like them to be owned. And I like, weirdly, how we're set up right now. Glazers owned the business for a long time and they injected a lot of money into the business, despite whatever people say about taking money out and how good they are as operators. And weirdly, Ineos have now taken a minority stake and are controlling the operations of the business. That's a different setup that's quite unique. It's very rare that you have the majority owner who does X, but the operations are done by the minority owner. That's like a rare setup. And even though you can talk about Man United's on-pitch performance, I think, structurally Man United needed that change for a long time. And I think long-term, I think it will bear fruit. But of course, there's other models out there. State club ownership is few and far between. You've got Paris, of course, with Qatar. You've got Man City with Abu Dhabi. And of course, you've got Newcastle with Saudi. There's a few dotted around Europe, and it comes with a pro and a con. They inject loads of cash, not only into the club, but they also inject loads of cash into the surrounding areas of the club. In Paris, a lot of infrastructure has changed around Paris Saint-Germain. Abu Dhabi have basically taken over a corner of Manchester and deeply entrenched themselves in the city. And Newcastle, that's happening in Newcastle as well. So there's some benefits that come with that, of course. But on the other side, you have to ask yourself a moral question. Do I like this regime? There is a group of people in Newcastle called Newcastle Against Sports Washing. It's a very original name, but they're very prominent on Twitter. They've got a very loud voice. There's a lot of articles, there's a lot of like podcasts that happen. And it's like, I was a fan of Newcastle for 40 years and I'm not a fan anymore because I don't like what's going on back home in the Middle East. That's something that Man United fans and I have never had to think about, but it would be a question I had in my mind.
Well, there were obviously points as well when the ownership was happening that Qatari ownership was being spoken about, wasn't there? There was that guy, whether he
Sheikh
did
Jassim.
or didn't exist at
exist?
one point. Yeah, there was that photo that went viral for him.
Sure.
I always think it's interesting as well. Maybe compare it to maybe someone like Spurs.
Yep.
Here, this might where you might be able to give your opinion, Ben. Or especially if you look at maybe Spurs compared to Chelsea over the last few years. Spurs have a sustainable model. It's something which has been very, very profitable. They've been complimented on it, I guess, in lots of ways. However, we've also seen that Spurs have, compared to other clubs in terms of how much money they're making and what they're spending on wages, has never been one of the big guys. If anything, they've really, really been down the table. You look at someone like Chelsea, who have had different types of ownership, and even in this new ownership, do spend lots of money. Yeah. Where do you fall on that? Would you wish you were kind of more a little bit like Chelsea in that factor?
Not necessarily. I think the thing is with the way that Tottenham are run and Tottenham are sort of set up to be sustainable, I think is a model that fans can get behind because there's no real moral aspect that kind of comes into it with being state-owned or anything like that. We are self-sustainable. We generate all of our own money. I think the frustration is that you don't want the priority, and I'm sure it's something we'll probably talk about with the multi-club and those kind of things. You don't want the priority of what the football club was built, those foundations that were built on, to kind of go away with the NFL kind of coming in and obviously Beyonce concerts, all that kind of stuff. You don't want the focus to be taken away from the football club. And now I don't think any Spurs fan has a problem with being set up as a multi-event or multi-sport kind of business in terms of the way that the stadium's been done, because I think we needed to move stadium to be able to compete. I don't think we've leveraged our position enough in terms of the wages that are spent. I think that model is starting to slowly break now over time. But I think the frustrating thing for me is that when you look at the revenue that Tottenham generate, when you look at the Deloitte football money reports and those kind of things, we're always in and around the top 10 revenue generators. And that is we've come such a long way in my life. We've always kind of punched above our weight a little bit to then get to that point where we've built this stadium and with so much money coming in. But the owner investment is, compared to that, is such on the small side. You can't just be self-sufficient. If you want to break through that glass ceiling, which Spurs have been able to nearly do at times with title pushes and Champions League finals, it's almost felt sometimes more by, not luck than judgment, but by things aligning at the right time, young players coming through the academy, whereas we've never really taken advantage of the financial position that we've put us in that is one of the best in world football. So I don't think any Tottenham fan has an issue with the way that the structure is necessarily. It's more about the operation side and the lack of cash that actually comes in from the people that own the club that are incredibly wealthy, Enoch. And there's now talk about Daniel Levy selling his minority stake of around 30% as well. That sort of scares me in terms of who could come in and buy that. How many people have got their kind of fingers in the pies at the football club as well. It is, there's like you said, with any model, there's pros and cons. I think there's massive pros to the way that Spurs do things, but it's the attitude at Tottenham that I find frustrating. They can't just rest on their laurels and rely on the money that comes into the business. They've got to put their hands in their pockets as well to make us the football club that they set out to want to be, with the ambitions that they constantly tell us that they've got to win the Premier and Champions League.
Question for you as fans, and this goes to everyone here. Would you like a say in how your football club is run?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's why, obviously, the fan advisory boards and all those things are important. I think the fans absolutely have to be listened to. It's just it's always difficult, the influence you'd get over decisions, but I think in an ideal world, yeah, of course. I think,
you know how they do things in Germany, right?
Yeah,
the 50+1 model, yeah. Well, I was going to say, it depends on what level of it. Like, do I think fans of Chelsea should decide who is brought in on transfers? Like, probably not. I think it might be slightly worse than what it is at times already.
I should watch our How to Fix Every Club video.
Maybe we do a lot of videos where we fix clubs, Jordan.
There's an argument that like fans are slightly fickle, and on
definitely
one hand they want everything.
Massively fickle.
They want loads of money being spent, but they don't want to have to pay for it out of their ticket prices and stuff like that. So there is a kind of duality to what fans really want, and so I do think that it is important to leave the business side of things in the hands of the business owners. But the German model, which you just brought up, there is a lot to be said for that. There is a lot to be said for when you look at the atmospheres and the stadiums. the collective feeling around the clubs out there. I mean, if you think how many fan bases in the UK at the moment are disgruntled or frustrated, and still, and it's not like these. I know people go, "Oh well, look, the Bundesliga is not doing as well." It's still a pretty strong division. I still, and it really just depends what you value mostly. If people, I think people are so blindly obsessed with titles and trophies and stuff like that, they actually lose sense of like the core of what going to a football game is every Saturday, and that it tends to be a cathartic collective experience with your mates going and cheering on a side. And I think Germany are still holding on to that perhaps a little bit better than we are. And so yes, I think it is vitally important because football is fundamentally for the fans. It's vitally important that they have their voice and they're given a sort of a vote, as it were. But you're right, the fundamental business side of things should be left to professionals, given the professional setups and the business-like nature that we're seeing.
And one more thing just to add piggyback on that as well is that in terms of having a say on certain things, you do feel like it's a bit of a slap in the face where, especially for someone like Tottenham, where we are being charged the most expensive season or one of the most expensive season ticket prices in the country, and it feels like we are kind of being taken advantage of, and those, like I spoke about before, those ambitions that they kind of set out aren't being aligned with the actions that they are taking, but we're still paying hugely out of pocket for that. And I think that's where fans should be allowed a little bit more control and a little bit more of a say to wrestle back the growing expense of going to the football, which was once a working men's or working people's kind of game, and it feels like the horse has bolted so much in that aspect, and it feels like we just don't have the same influence in terms of being able to control those things like you said in Germany.
What do you think of like Brentford, for example, a club that froze new shirts for 2 years, a club that I think operates very much hand in hand with the local Brentford community in order to like control ticket prices and try and make sure that the G-Tech, there is an atmosphere there. And obviously Brentford is an upward moving club. You only have to look at what they were sort of 10, 15 years ago to realise what a successful organisation that is in the new stadium. What do you make of a club like Brentford in terms of how they operate with their fans?
Brentford are one of my favourite stories in all of football, let alone sport in general. Their growth, their ascent through the English Football League up into the Premier League and where they are right now is unbelievable. And from a financial perspective, what they were bought for to what they're valued at right now is outrageous, actually. It's actually brilliant what they've done. And along the way, they've had a lot of fan forums. But I think generally with Brentford, they've had such a good data use over their 10-year period that Matthew Benham has taken them to where they are. And the transfer policy has worked. Their scouting policy has worked. They got rid of their academy for a bit. That worked. And I think that's actually just made everything look good. I think I don't know how much more they do with their fans relative to other clubs. I think some other clubs do that. It's just like Brentford are doing very well in this whole thing. An interesting part of the German model, the 50+1, is that a lot of fans have a say in, and like half of the club, or more than half of the club, is like owned by a fan.
51?
50+1, not for profit entity. And one of the biggest drawbacks of that whole thing, there's more nuance to this than what I'm saying right now, but is that these clubs can't compete financially. It's like they're not primarily focused on revenue. It's more about the spirit and the game and the football. But some of the German clubs just can't compete with European counterparts, and therefore they don't really perform in Europe. Financially, they're not as strong. Yes, there's more soul and there's more nuance and there's more like spirit amongst the fan base, but relative to other European counterparts, they just don't perform as well. So then, is that better? Or would you prefer to have a financially driven firm driving capital into the club, kind of what you were saying, and performing well relative to others? That might bring more joy because you're winning more. It's a pro and a con. Bayern Munich do really well, but they are backed by some pretty substantial institutions.
Yeah.
There's not that depth of competition in Germany like there is in the Premier League, for example. It's a tug of war.
I think the amount of money in the Premier League is probably, it warps people's expectations, and football does make hypocrites out of everyone. Like you said, if loads of money was being pumped into Tottenham or Fulham or Chelsea or whoever, and you were winning, then you don't really care. But I think part of our footballing culture has been probably eroded by the amount of money that's come into the league, whereas Germany, and whatever you, like you said, it depends on what you value. If you value that fan culture and everything that Henry was saying, then
Germany's
I think
perfect.
it's perfect. I mean, there's still it's a monopoly at the top with Bayern Munich with the amount of money that is coming into them, but it's still great that even though they are so successful, their fans they're still I think probably a bit disillusioned by, not necessarily Bayern, because again, you get to celebrate winning the league every year, but where football is probably going. They've still spoken up big time about things, Bayern Munich fans, as much as a Dortmund fan has, or any other German kind of team has as well. So it's just like you said. I think it just depends on what you value. Really.
I can't remember the club. I want to say FC Nuremberg, maybe. Can't remember. So just take the concept and the philosophy of what I'm saying. They were going to do a sponsorship deal with Visit Saudi.
Yeah.
Fans didn't like it.
Yeah.
They said no. Of course, that sponsorship deal would have brought in more revenue to the
Yeah,
club.
yeah.
They probably could have bought a player, maybe had a better performance next year.
Yeah.
But the fan forum, the not-for-profit entity, said no, we don't want that sponsorship with the club. So what's better? You want the money, which means you can get the player to perform, or you want the... That's the wrangle that you have to go.
Well, Bayern and Dortmund have even done it with like kit sponsors and stuff. Haven't they?
Yeah, they
Dortmund
have,
had it this
yeah.
year with, is it Vodafone, where they voted against having, which is something I wish Tottenham did with the red AIA on our kit every single year. But they voted against Vodafone being able to have red on the front of their shirt, didn't they? And Bayern, there was a similar thing with either a sponsor or one of their kits, something like that. And I think, again, they speak about the fact we've got these new kits every year. Adidas are releasing a fourth kit. A bit like what you were saying with Brentford about they understand that times are getting tough for football fans. It's like they say have the same home kit for 2 years. And you've still got Bayern Munich fans who have got absolutely everything they want. European success, although not so much in recent years, and domestic success every single year, still speaking up about these things, feeling like they're being taken advantage of. So it's good to see that what matters to the fans and that fan culture has not been eroded in Germany.
Yeah.
Whereas in the Premier League, I think the money has really just changed the landscape completely.
I think the betting sponsors is a really interesting example of actually sometimes maybe you can listen to your fans a bit more, because there are a lot of vacuous betting companies lavished everywhere over, and I know they're slowly phasing it out, but there has I think unanimously there has almost been a unanimous pushback,
A rejection.
against that, but clubs don't care. And you're right, they go, well, do you want the money? Do you want the money? Like, sure. I refuse to sit here and believe that betting companies are the only companies willing to stump up this money. It's just obviously that's just the one that's dominating the game at the moment. But sure enough, when it ends, you will see an influx of other new alternative sponsors coming. We've got like Visit Mongolia as one of our sponsors. I mean, it's ridiculous.
We're going to see. I'm fascinated by this. I did a video last year on gambling in the Premier League. At the moment, 11 of the 20 Premier League clubs are sponsored front of shirt by a gambling company. That's going to change. All 11 are going to have to change in August for the next season. I'm sure some of the deals are already done without being announced. Some of them might get relegated, so it might be 10 or 11, 10 or 9 by the time the August comes around. But I mean, I'm fascinated to see what type of companies become front of shirt sponsors and how much money they give. Are they going to give the same amount of money that betting companies would? Remains to be seen. Premier League was slow with that. Other leagues have banned gambling years ago. And I think they only just banned it on the front of shirt sponsors. Can still be on the sleeve, can still be on the billboards around the stadium, could still be on the training kit. So they're still like, oh, we're doing something. It's like putting cigarettes like behind
It's
the
a
till.
bit of a box ticking thing, isn't it, really? Because like you're not gonna if you're have West Ham got a betting sponsor on the front of their kit, for example? If you're a West Ham fan and you've got like you feel
Betway.
It's Betway, isn't it? It's like if you feel that that's going to influence you and it goes away, it's not going to influence you anywhere near as much as being peppered constantly by adverts if you're watching a game on TV or around the stadium. It's just it feels like it's a bit of a hollow
Victory,
I think, in a sense.
I'm interested, just quickly on this, I'm interested with the rise of football shirt culture and as a fashion statement, and if you look like classic football shirts, etc. I'm interested once this ban goes out to see how that relationship with sponsors and design, because I feel like we're going to almost enter a golden era of design.
It's a reset. It's a reset for sure.
And so and just one more thing on the ownership stuff, because I think what Rob and Ryan have done at Wrexham is a fascinating example of the different structures which you're mentioning here, because you had a club that was owned by the fans, and that was done as a protective measure originally because of mismanagement of Wrexham that had seen it drop down the leagues. And then Rob and Ryan have come in, obviously pumped a lot of money into that. But I mean, look, I know Rob's having a tough time. Ryan's having a tough time in the press at the moment, but fundamentally they are loved by that club, and they do seem to really, whether it's an act or whatever, they do seem to be taking the core Wrexham fan base with them for the ride. We're now at a point where they are genuinely contenders to get into the Premier League, which is mental, by the way. Absolutely bonkers.
it's insane.
Playoffs now?
They're in the playoff positions at the moment.
Insane.
That's a huge step up revenue-wise. They already have, like, revenue's not a problem for them. But where do you see that relationship? Do you think we'll start to see them having to act like a bit more of a big-time club when it comes to that relationship with the fans, or do you think that's a sustainable approach going forward? Because I think what we're going to see of Wrexham is going to be fascinating.
Especially where it's happened so quickly as well. Like,
The further you go up, you need to compete. You have to compete financially. And that money becomes far more important. And I think then the fan interaction might not be as constant as it is at the moment. You just have to compete more and more and more and more and more. You need more commercial money. You need more match day money. You need to do things. There's going to be probably a bigger stadium. There's probably going to be more hospitality seats. There's probably going to be more stars because they need to sell more content to drive more revenue. And all of a sudden, Wrexham are not going to feel like the community team that they once did. I think they've done really well to get this far so quickly. And I think the story of winning has just like galvanized that city, the league, everything about it. But the further they go up, it's going to change. So just take my hat off to Rob and Ryan. What they've done financially on the pitch and off the pitch is great, but it's going to change soon. It has to. And even if they don't make it up to the Premier League this year and they stay in the Championship, they might be in the Championship for 2 or 3 years and they might think, shit, we need to make more money. We need to get that one player. We need to do more. And it's just going to inch and inch and inch and inch and inch. And it's going to shift. It has to.
It's almost done. They've almost been too successful for their own good.
A little
It's
bit,
like
yeah,
just to be in the Championship for a few years as Wrexham is
great.
Is an amazing achievement. But yeah, I agree. I
Soon
just
they'll
think
be
it's fascinating.
playing against some of the big dogs in the
I love
Premier
the
League.
first name basis as well, Henry, of Robin. Right?
You know, I just can't be bothered to say McElhenney. Like,
It's a mouthful,
It
it's a
is
mouthful.
tough. It is tough. Well, we mentioned it and we've skirted around it a few times. Let's chat about the multi-club model, which is one of the most popular things I think happening in football. I think you've seen multiple clubs look at doing it. Multiple clubs do it. I mean, there's even questions about whether it was being done beforehand, before it was officially being done. I think we saw when Chelsea was sending a lot of players to Vitesse. That was a whole part of it as well. And I think there were even rumours around Roman having certain deals with Vitesse as well. Man City, the City Group. They're one of the first ones, really, to do it properly, to go and take clubs from Australia, from America, all over the world. We've then seen Chelsea just start theirs by obviously purchasing Strasbourg. It's a weird one with multi-club groups. If you're not the top dog, if you're not City and you're not Chelsea, are you ever going to be the main focus of that organisation, right? Like you look at Strasbourg right now, we've seen the fans there riot multiple times, do in-game protests, do protests outside the training ground, outside stadiums, online, put out multiple messages around it. Their captain this January has just joined Chelsea. Their manager a couple of months ago has just joined Chelsea. I don't think we've ever seen it quite as upfront like it was maybe as it with the City Group. Yeah, with the City Group, right? And I think Savinio came in from Genoa. Lampard came into Man City after he moved to America. We've not seen it happen as significantly or as it has at Chelsea so quickly. And what do we make of the multi-club organisation? And firstly, Jordan, why do clubs want to do it?
Can I also just ask, sorry, just so we got the numbers as well, how close are we now to having the majority of teams in the Premier League part of a multi-club group?
Yeah, look at Bournemouth.
How
Look at Bournemouth.
What are the numbers in terms of how many Premier League teams it is now?
I don't know how many it is now. I think when I did a video on this last summer, it was something like 32% of clubs in Europe are part of some kind of multi-club ownership across all the divisions in all the leagues, something of that nature. Today in the Premier League, how many? Don't know the specific number, but it's growing.
I think it's less than 10, but it's getting there, isn't it? It feels like.
The presence of multi-club ownership is growing. Why do clubs want to do this, or why do ownership clubs want to do it? For a few reasons. One, it gives you, I guess, exposure in many continents, a part of the world. A lot of the companies or the people that own these clubs are like highly influential businessmen, very wealthy people. Owning football clubs is like a very high status thing.
Yeah.
Can be quite lucrative for them, but also it gives them footholds professionally in different parts of the world, which is quite important to them. Second thing, all of a sudden commercial conversations change. If I own one club in London or in the UK, but now I own one in Paris or I own one in France, in Spain, and all of a sudden the commercial landscape becomes a portfolio company rather than like an individual entity company. And then all of a sudden money starts changing pretty significantly too. And then of course there is the talent funnel. It's like I can literally almost like breed players overseas or grow players elsewhere and then like funnel them into the top club, which creates a talent pipeline, which obviously is going to help the top club over years to come.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few reasons as to why it's quite beneficial. And ultimately the structures of football have allowed this to happen. There's no real regulations at FIFA level or even at local level to prevent it from happening. So clubs are just saying, well, why not? There's nothing that stops us from doing it. And, I saw a BBC article 3 days ago and it was like Chelsea and Strasbourg have had 12 dealings with each other this season alone or something like
It's
that.
that great meme, isn't it, of Todd Bowley on the phone to Todd Bowley.
It's insane. It's insane, but nothing's stopping them from doing it. City have the Savino transfer. He came from Troyes, it's a French club.
Yep.
I don't think he played a minute at Troyes. He played for Girona, had a good season, but Troyes were in
And the
pretty
price
big,
tag was very cheap as well.
Troyes were in financial difficulty. It's like financial engineering right in front of our faces. It helped Troyes out. Savino got the move. It's all in the same ecosystem. It's like right in front of our faces. It's a bit blatant, but nothing is stopping clubs from doing it. Of course, I live in South London. I grew up in South London. I saw what happened to Palace last summer.
Yeah.
That's where I think there needs to be a change. In my opinion, the one change I would have to this whole thing is that I don't think you should own more than one club in a federation. So you can't have more than one club in Europe. You can't have one club in Africa. You can't have one club in America. You can't have one club in CONCACAF in South America or whatever. You can only have one. Palace, unfortunately, were the first club where this... Well, actually, they weren't, but it came to a head. They got demoted into the Conference League. I grew up in Croydon, to be honest, right where Palace is. I saw the celebrations when they won the FA Cup. It was unbelievable. To then learn 6 weeks later they're not going to be in Europa League, I actually find it quite mad.
It's brutal.
And it was all because John Textor owned some parts of Lyon and some parts of Palace. I don't think that should happen. It's crazy for Palace as an organisation. It's crazy for the fans. It's crazy for the players. I mean, I don't think it's a surprise 6 months later to see where Palace are right now. It seems like the club's falling apart a little bit right now. I don't like that whole thing. So I think there should be some barriers and some protections about owning so many different teams in a federation. But I'm not particularly against multi-club ownership. It's kind of existed a long time, like for ages. It's just now, it's just like so blatantly obvious in front of our faces. I think it's kind of eroding things a little bit.
Yeah, and also with the Palace thing, I think the huge irony in a lot of it and why they felt so aggrieved by the whole situation was obviously with John Textor, he didn't even have, he put his shares into blind trust, didn't he? Correct. It was just that it was essentially a paperwork. They kind of missed the deadline in March, wasn't it? And then he put his shares into blind trust, had no decisive influence over Crystal Palace, despite his involvement with Lyon. And I think it was, again, when you're looking at Nottingham Forest situation, for example, who are the ones that actually pushed to get them kicked out, and you look at the pies that Marinakis kind of has his fingers in as an owner as well. The irony in all of that, I think that's where fans just become so disillusioned with this whole thing, and you can't blame Palace fans. It was a sporting kind of tragedy, really. I think that Palace fans had to miss out on that at the expense of another club who have also, maybe in a slightly different way, or maybe not to the letter of the law that Crystal Palace were eventually done for, even though they didn't really actually break any of the laws really because there was no decisive influence from Textor, that they missed out at the expense of a Forest side that their owner clearly has much more involvement and influence in other clubs than what John Textor had in Palace and Lyon. So it's just, I think that's where, I think a lot of this, obviously this whole thing is about money, but this whole conversation is also about how fans just quickly become so detached from football and so disillusioned with not just what's going on with their club, but when they see their club having a huge, having their club miss out on something while other clubs might get a slap on the wrist for the other things. It's just not fair.
Inconsistent. Yeah, I'm surprised there's not been more top-down regulation on this so far.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Do you think that the horse has kind of bolted in terms of multi-club, or is there anything that you think that FIFA or UEFA can do to kind of either stop it or limit it to the point where we don't find ourselves in another situation where Palace are getting kicked out of Europe for what they did?
I think my suggestion about owning one club per federation would solve a lot of problems.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Again, if you declare that rule now, you have to have 2 or 3 years for that to come into effect, because City would need to sell 3 or 4 teams. They own Palermo, Girona, Troyes. There's one in Belgium, I think. There's quite a few others. Even Textor, no, not Palace anymore, but like Lyon,
Brazil,
Molenbeek,
Brazilian team.
Marinakis as well.
Botafogo, that's it. Yeah.
Marinakis owns a few. So like, you're basically forcing these guys to sell some of their assets, which is
they need notice. Yeah,
they need notice. There's ethical reasons about that as well. So maybe it is. Maybe the horse has bolted. But like, I think this is only going to get worse, and I don't think it's good for fans. And I don't think it's good for the sanctity of football. Strasbourg is basically just a feeder club.
Yeah,
at AC Milan, there were some pretty decent riots and protests as well, being like how Redbird Capital are operating over there and stuff. Standard Liège are another one. They had 777 partners as their owners, and they're like cooking the books and all kind of stuff going on. So I think something needs to happen because this is going to get louder and louder.
Yeah. Can I just ask? I mean, I guess a bigger question on this is sort of on what Ben was getting to, is the power balance between UEFA and these big clubs. Because I think when Crystal Palace, a lot of what they were saying when they came out is, well, look, it's easy for UEFA to hit us because they haven't really ever had to think about us.
If that was a bigger club.
Yeah, and I know that there was an Irish team that got removed from the Conference League qualifiers because they had a random link with some like Swedish team or something like that. So imagine being those Irish fans going, hold on a second.
We just got it.
Yeah. And then and then yes, there's the whole City, UEFA versus City argument as well. I don't want to move away too far from the point I'm trying to make, but to what extent is that power balance still in UEFA's hands, or have these Marinakis-like figures, these state-owned clubs, are they just too sort of weaponized to the teeth for UEFA to deal with it when it comes to that kind of law situation?
Truthfully, I don't know, but the governing body should be the governing body, and they should impose rules, and the clubs have to operate. That's how I view it, anyway.
We're going to see the multi-club ownership board of peace coming out and just sort of going, actually.
But then you only have to look at the Super League, Henry, right? Like, this is what the clubs feel like they are the dominant force.
Yeah.
You know, the Super League is Real Madrid, it's the big clubs all around the world going, you know what? UEFA, you're not really able to manage us. You're not able to law us. You're not able to tell us what we want to do. We're actually not making enough money from the Champions League. We should be doing more of these games. And everybody basically originally saying, yeah, I want a piece of that. Yeah, I'm involved. I'm keen to do that.
The refreshing thing about the Super League was obviously the fact that, and we've spoken about the power balance between the fans and the influence they can have, was the fact that all the fans of the big six clubs that were being put into the Super League against their own will came out, rallied massively against it, and then decided to back down ultimately.
What I think that was, man.
It was. And I think, look, if that tried to happen again, I think you'd see a very similar, if not even a more vociferous kind of reaction to it. However, the worry is that so many of these things, we might not get a Super League for, I don't know, it might not come up again for another 5 years or 10 years maybe in terms of Premier League clubs. But so many things are kind of being done in stealth, in kind of plain sight to move towards... I mean, look at the Champions League now anyway. It's basically a Super League anyway. So it's like, but so many of these other little things are being done to actually make fans more disenfranchised with the football club that they once had so much love for, become detached from it. And actually, if we do come then round to another Super League conversation in maybe 10 years, there might be certain groups of fans, a little bit like what you were saying with Newcastle, and protesting against their state ownership and saying we're not going anymore. There's been plenty of West Ham fans that I know have walked away from the London Stadium because they feel so disenfranchised with what's going on. There might get to a point where fans can become so deluded or disillusioned with the amount of money that's going into football. We still feel like we've been dragged in that direction, even though the clubs have said they're not going to do it. Where it actually gets to a point where those protests aren't as strong in the future because fans might just feel like, you know what, what's the point anymore? Football's not the same game that it was even 15 years ago, maybe by the point where we come round to this conversation again soon. So that's what really worries me, is that football clubs are doing so many things in the background to make you ultimately feel like you're disconnecting with the true fans are being priced out and pushed out to the fact that maybe they don't want to go anymore. So they're not going to have as much decisive influence when it comes to these Super League conversations. The fans' opinions won't matter as much, I fear.
I mean, I can see, I think it's something that could easily happen. And like, you know, I do think it kind of goes back to the point though of that also coincides with West Ham doing really badly. That
for sure, but
with
the
teams
decision
doing
making
really
at that
badly.
football club and being like the thing is with West Ham is that their identity has been. I spoke about Spurs moving stadium earlier, and I think.
But what was that stadium for when they won the European Cup and when they got their trophy and when they were winning?
I think we need to be careful in terms of how. I feel like West Ham fans get a little bit patronised quite a lot of the time with like, of course they're going to be behind the team when things.
That's
go
my point.
But the decision making at that football club has led them down this path. And to be fair, there were plenty of West Ham fans that walked away before they even like got to that point. Because of moving to the stadium.
And I do agree.
I think Tottenham fans would have been the same. We were very nearly in that stadium, in the London Stadium.
Yeah, you were,
it was actually Daniel Levy, because he said that he wanted to change it, knock it down, and build something different. That was basically the reason why we didn't get it. He still wanted to do it. And I feel like, you know, the fans become so disillusioned. I feel like the multi-club thing as well, and I was speaking about things being done in stealth, it feels like even at my club, for example, with Spurs, we're not part of a multi-ownership group. ENIC have previously had a multi-club thing with Rangers. They had there was a few other clubs as well, but nowhere near to the scale of what's going on currently right now. But even with, what worries me is at some point with the NFL, there will be a London franchise team.
You reckon?
I think so. And I think that...
In the NFL?
I think so. Because if you think of like East Coast America, it's only like 5 hours or whatever to get over to London if there's one game at Spurs every week or every other week or whatever. And some teams might have to travel further than that in America to get to the other side of the country. So it wouldn't... It feels like that's what we're kind of gearing towards. And that is another step towards it. Look, I haven't got a problem with the NFL being at Tottenham because it doesn't disrupt us at this moment in time. But it feels like that is the end goal, to have a London franchise, which could then almost spell the end a little bit for Tottenham Hotspur being the soul of what that stadium is and what Tottenham is. And it feels like
does that matter to you?
That does matter to me a lot. And
if the
like,
NFL franchise, the London
London Spurs.
London
Spurs.
Hotspurs.
Yeah.
In the NFL, made Tottenham Hotspur 100 million quid a year, and you could buy a Solanke every season.
Oh.
Would you care?
The thing is, we can do that anyway, and that's the frustrating point about. But the frustrating point about Tottenham is that I think we make enough money as it is anyway to be able to compete in what we're doing right now. It's the ownership investment that really lacks, and it feels like I don't want to become even more reliant on more money being pumped into the football club through outside events. If you're an owner and you have these ambitions to be able to do that, or to want to win the Premier League and the Champions League, like we're kind of constantly told, look at what other clubs have done in terms of owner investment. We're not sitting at that table despite wanting to.
I'm poking your buttons here with no agenda, by the way.
Yeah.
If you got an extra 75 million quid a year and it came from your owners or it came from external factors, why does it matter where it comes from?
I do get that, and that's the thing. Football fans are fickle, and as long as we see a winning team, I think a lot of that conversation will go away. But it's about where we're not seeing the owners prioritise enough the football side, and the kind of soul being stripped away almost is like And again, a part of it's to do with the decision making in the football club, to be fair. So it might not be the money that's almost holding us back as much as the way that the football club is set up and operated. But I don't want Tottenham to not become the main thing at that ground. And it feels like if there is an NFL franchise there, we are moving further towards the division of priority. Mm-hmm. And that's that. And look, if we start winning Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues, then of course I'm a hypocrite. I probably won't care as much, but it's still, you want to be Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. You don't want to be and this, you know. So it's about that soul being kind of stripped away, and I feel like
it's understandable, and I think you're completely right. Like, I think we've mentioned before that I think football fans are hypocritical. I think they are fickle.
Of course, we're run by emotion, aren't we?
No, and yeah, exactly. And that's a really good point. That's a really, really good point. Ultimately, when we see our thing doing well, we're going to say this is amazing, and that every decision leading up to this was the perfect decision, the right decision. And when they're not doing well, we're going to say every decision was poorly. And again, I kind of said it off camera about something completely different, but it's probably somewhere in the middle. It probably is somewhere in the middle around things like that. One topic I do want to touch upon, obviously we had loads to cover, and we just won't get through it all as we said beforehand. But something that I do think is quite big is the Premier League is massive. Yeah. Right, it makes lots of money. It does really, really well all across the globe. But, you know, if we look back to the 90s, Italy was probably the leading factor in that. I remember actually watching like little bits of Italian football on TV growing up. I would say maybe late noughties, early 10s, Spain was the dominating force. Yeah. Messi, Ronaldo was a big part of that as well. The beasts that were that Real Madrid team, the beasts that were that Barcelona team with Xavi and Iniesta. And now is the time of the Premier League, I guess. And it's interesting if you look at, say, actually in the last week or so, Marcelino, the manager in Spain, came out with a comment saying about Crystal Palace. I think the exact words was something along the lines of Crystal Palace is, the quote's just gone, it is Crystal Palace, which are not a top team in England, signed Yeremy Pino, who's playing for a Champions League team, and going on to talk about how basically the best teams in other divisions aren't able to compete with some of the lower ranked teams in the Premier League with the money that they obviously have now. Is that, maybe just saying blatantly, is that a good thing? Is too biased, or just gonna, we're gonna say about, well, for the Premier League it's brilliant, for the others it's not so good. For football, is it a good thing that there is just one league being so dominant, and like the dominance of this league compared to others is frightening? You look at transfer fees in the summer compared to other divisions. You do just see the Premier League blow everybody out of the water. They're right. Bournemouth can go and spend £100 million. A new team from the Championship can go and spend over 100. Look at Sunderland this summer, can go and spend what the whole division of Spain might spend. For football globally, is that a good thing? And does it ever look like it will stop at this current rate? It stopped for Italy, it stopped for Spain. Will it stop for the Premier League?
Two questions in there. Is it good for football globally? I think La Liga would do it if they could.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's what I'll say about that. Will it stop? I think everything has its time. It has a run. The Premier League is a fantastic product. Football is deeply entrenched into the fabric of British culture, and 50 million people around the country will pay a lot of money to watch it on a week-to-week basis. As a result, Sky pay a lot of money for the rights to show the football to everyone, and now TNT. And then, of course, that money then gets given to the clubs. And those clubs, therefore, have more money to pay for players and then pay wages. That's how this whole thing works. Annoyingly, in France, even though there's a deep tradition of French footballing talent, French people don't want to watch football as much as British people do. So the broadcast rights there are just not as lucrative. It's the exact same thing in Spain, and there's the exact same thing in Italy. Italy was once the dominant footballing league, but in terms of watching and consuming, England has always been so deep and so willing to spend. That is how this works. But that will rotate at some point. Maybe in another league somewhere, there might be another Messi Ronaldo story that will be so compelling that it will attract Spanish people to pay for the football rights way more than it does in the UK, and it will rotate somewhere else. It will happen. But right now, and for the last 20 years, it's been deep in the Premier League. Also, I will say this, the Premier League have been fantastic at capitalizing on this and then expanding internationally. Right now, the Premier League makes £1.67 billion a season from Sky and TNT for the domestic rights to show football in the Premier League. It's an insane amount of money. For perspective, Bundesliga is just over $1 billion. So we're like 60% more than Germany. And it's similar in Spain. So we're significantly ahead of our European counterparts. But we get £2 billion for the international rights outside of the UK. That's in America, in South Africa, in Far East, in Asia, and so on and so forth. So we're getting over £3.5 billion a year globally for the rights. And the Premier League have done really well at doing that. It annoys us as fans seeing my club, Man United, going to America every summer for a pre-season tour. I'm thinking, why are we playing Arsenal in Charlotte? But that allows the Premier League to be massive in America, which means NBC pay crazy amounts of money to show the rights in America, which means that comes back to the Premier League. And other leagues haven't been as good as that.
No, not at all.
La Liga rights in the UK are owned by Premier Sports. You haven't seen a Classico on Sky or anything for years.
ITV have got a small percentage.
Very small percentage.
Yeah, the viewing figures are so good when ITV put on those La Liga games on Sunday night, 7:45. It just proves that if you put those games on the right channels, people will watch
definite
them.
demand for it. I was 100%
Especially with when you said earlier about like a Messi Ronaldo kind of arc and story that gets people invested. I think we are kind of seeing that with like Yamal at Barcelona now, and obviously Real Madrid got Mbappe, so there's that kind of thing. And we look at how locked into people were to Barcelona's Champions League run last season. So again, if the characters are there, if the storyline is there, like Henry said, people will watch it. Like they will.
Well, I often think that one of the Premier League's other big strengths as well is because we're constantly buying from the French, Spanish, German, Italian, like all those nations have invested interest in watching the players that they've loved at their clubs coming over here. The amount of Spaniards that played in the Premier League at this point is absolutely bonkers. Yeah. And if you look at it in the other direction, it is minimal. And it takes for a Gareth Bale, a Jude Bellingham, very fleeting instances of players to go over there. Now we're looking at Rashford. Suddenly, so many articles about Barcelona again, always featuring Rashford. Yeah. What I wonder is if these clubs are going to wise up to the fact that if you get an English or a British icon on your books, this is part of the battle of driving eyeballs back to your leagues, because you've almost got to win the heart and the minds of the British audience in order to, at this point, I think everything you said this ties into, in the sense that like we are so desperate and willing to consume, but you've got to give us that narrative and that hook to get behind it. So I wonder now, look at Scott McTominay going to Napoli. I mean, obviously you've got to perform. There's been British players that have gone places and haven't done it. It's like, no one's tuning necessarily into Torino to watch Che Adams necessarily. There's no disrespect to him, he's doing very well. But the point is, I'll be really interested to see if the approach towards British footballers continues to increase with the competitiveness of the Premier League and with opportunities to go abroad.
I guess a good example of that is probably Harry Kane going to Bayern. Mm-hmm. And over the last year, the Bundesliga dividing their broadcast rights to the overlap to Mark Goldbridge and those kind of things as well. So it's like, it's quite, especially where they can't make the same money, it's quite a good way of actually doing it.
But they're thinking proactively.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to do as a league.
100%.
A league has to do that. They have to distribute the stories, the narratives well internationally, and that brings the interest back.
Yeah.
So today, the Bundesliga might be a little bit behind. Give 3 or 4 years with the overlap with Goldbridge. I'm sure they'll do it again next season and so on and so forth. That will start to change. And that's how the arc starts to change. Yeah. Over time, it takes like 4 or 5 years. It's like deeply entrenched it into the fabric, but it does. So we'll see.
Yeah. Is there anything in terms of, and I know there's definitely been rumours about it. I know, big companies are probably worried about it in terms of like a Netflix of football, if the Premier League, obviously the Premier League we've just said it there, the Premier League get a crazy amount of money and don't have to do the work. They don't have to go and send the cameraman to the people. They don't have to go and organise the shoots or the so on and so forth. But is there a world where, the average person can, I'm sure Sky don't want to hear this, but there is no Sky Sports, and there is the Netflix of football, the Premier League app, where you pay your £15 a month to just watch Chelsea, but you pay your £40 a month to watch every single game you can.
Yep.
Is that a likelihood? Is there rumours of that? What is the possibility of
And
the
when's the
world right now?
broadcasting? Do you know when the broadcasting deals?
They've
are?
just done them.
29 is it?
yeah, 29.
When it finishes, it'll be negotiated before
That's
that.
next September, right, okay.
And we've seen Amazon try as well, didn't we? We saw Amazon do it with the Champions League.
I'm really happy you asked me this. I did a video on this and it was one of my most engaging videos ever. It's a deep thing. Your question was, is there a world where there's no Sky Sports in the Premier League? The answer is yes, and it's very real. It's very possible, even though Sky Sports and the Premier League have kind of literally been like neck and neck for the past 30 years.
Yeah.
There is a world where it is. I'll ask you guys a question. Do you all pay for Sky Sports?
Yeah.
Yes. But I get it for free for my girlfriend, so I have to say it. My girlfriend works at Sky.
I don't currently pay for Sky Sports, but I will pay for a Now TV pass every now and then.
Clear. Okay. I got invited to speak at the London School of Economics 2 weeks ago. I was in an auditorium. There's maybe about 60 people, students. Bear in mind, they were like between the ages of 19 and 24, maybe like a mature student. And there was a few lecturers in there as well. They were like of an older ilk. And I asked the same question to the room. How many people in here pay for Sky Sports? Honestly, there were like 6 people in a room full of 70 people. And none of the lecturers did either. And they were like older and, fairly more well-resourced.
Yeah.
No one pays for it. Oh, okay. In that room, it's a small sample size.
Yeah, sure.
No one paid for it in that room. So many of my friends have dodgy sticks right now.
Yeah.
Like piracy is like a very big thing. It is so expensive to consume all the games of
really
Sky
is.
Sports. And even this season, Sky Sports and TNT Sports have way more games than any season previously.
Yeah.
But you still can't watch every single game. And it's so expensive. If you want to have full coverage, of course in the UK it's just Sky and TNT now. It used to be Amazon as well. If you want to watch Champions League, you'll have Amazon, Sky, TNT. If you like other sports, I like boxing, I like Formula One, I like cricket.
Yeah,
I gotta get DAZN, I gotta get like Premier Sports if I want to watch La Liga. There's so much. It's a problem. It's a problem. And yes, there is a world. So could the Premier League do it themselves? Create the Premflix app, and it's you pay $29.99 a month and you get every game in history and some programming around it. It is possible, but it will be so expensive. 10 minutes ago, I literally just said, right now, the Premier League gets £3.5 billion a year from broadcasters with doing, I won't say fuck all, but they're not doing much. Literally just giving you the rights to show it themselves.
Yeah.
Why would we absorb all that work? We're going to have to do all of our own programming, all of our own filming, have to get all of our own pundits. We're going to have to build an app. All of a sudden, the Premier League becomes a tech company.
Yep. Yeah.
It's a tech company, really. If that starts buffering, or if there's an outage, we've all watched boxing fights when the thing starts buffering, it doesn't work. That's a problem. Someone can't reset their password or something. All of a sudden, you need a customer support team doing password resets. You need so much stuff going on. And then what else do you do on local languages? Not everyone speaks English, so you need to get local languages. And then if you want to promote this thing in France, the French are different to the British. You've got to do different marketing channels in there. At the moment, they don't have to do that. Pure Sport in South Africa do the marketing in South Africa. NBC do it in America. Whoever they sell it to in Southeast Asia do it in Southeast Asia. They don't have to think about any of that stuff. But all of a sudden, you have to think about that. So the Premier League becomes a massive entity, marketing division, tech division. Yes, they will centralize it. Yes, they'll control it all. And yes, they could make more money doing so, which will make more money for our clubs and all of our players. But it's a massive operation doing it. It's a fascinating conversation. But something's got to give, because if more and more people are pirating Sky Sports are going to go, well, we're not going to pay you as much for the rights because we're not making the money back because you're not paying, we're not getting the subscriptions that we need.
And there's no real competitors at the moment.
At the moment, who's going to step up and do it?
Yeah.
So who else is going to give 1.5 billion quid a year?
It's blind bidding as well, isn't it? It's blind bidding.
Do you not think that's where the streamers really come into their own? Because if Netflix goes, well, actually, most people are already paying for our products because we offer something that people love, and if we tag on the Premier League on top of that, then it's not. It's a lot more likely to drive eyeballs there. Do you not think?
They've tested it as well, sport. They're testing it, aren't they?
Yeah, because even like looking at boxing, the way that they're sort of launching the odd fight. I think the Tyson Fury fight.
And NFL, I think, as well, for once too.
Yeah, do you not? Is there a world where like this is all playing into the streamers' hands because they're already set up to go? No, actually, just come to our platform. We know what we're doing.
So far, there will always be a streaming service that needs subscribers and be in the market for IP. I don't know if you've seen Paramount are just doing a crazy thing. They've just been bought out. They need subscribers. They just did a massive deal for the UFC at the right time when the UFC rights were up. There's always going to be a demand for subscribers.
Apple still have the MLS?
Apple have the MLS, but it hasn't been going very well in America. Hasn't been going very well, and they're ending the relationship early. It was a 10-year deal. They're going to end it early. So it hasn't been going very well.
And when did they sign the deal?
2022. meant to run to 2020, 2032, and they're already announced that 2020, 27, I think is going to, or 3 years early, something like that.
Right.
Not that good. So there's always going to be rights. However, again, it depends on the streaming service you're talking about. Do Netflix want sports, linear sports forever, or are they a primary original content, scripted TV, movies, etc., etc.? It depends how strong the Netflix pull is for subscribers. Do they need to constantly grow their share price? Then maybe they do. But a $14.99 Netflix subscription will change if they buy Premier League rights. And then all of a sudden it's a different company. And all of a sudden it's Premier League rights globally or just in the UK or in certain markets. There's like quite a few like different nuances that go into this whole thing. It's a fascinating conversation. But your original question was, is there a world where the Sky Sports isn't with the Premier League? And it is real. How soon it is remains to be seen. We're seeing for the first time, by the way, the previous broadcasting deal in Germany is slightly lower than what it was previously. And it's the exact same in Spain. Not by much, it's a few percentage points. Yeah. But the Premier League has been like on a massive tear, growing up in value. It's flattened a little bit really high. And it will, I don't know where the next one's going to go. But in Spain and Germany, it started to come down a little bit. And don't get me started on France. France is a shit show.
They've had their own issues.
Their Mediacom deal was absolutely insane. Back in the day.
And that's a problem. They signed a massive deal. They couldn't pay for it. Very quickly, it all fell apart. And the money in France is now completely fucked.
Yeah.
Amazon and DAZN stepped in far below what the media rights deal was, which means less money distributed to clubs, which means less money distributed to
Lyon.
fans. Some clubs started getting put in pretty bad financial spaces, and it hasn't recovered. To the point now where they've launched their own Premflix. And this year, they're going to make 160 million euros from broadcast rights. I mentioned the Premier League makes 1.6 billion pounds. It's 10 times as much. Jeez. It's a massive difference.
Yeah.
You get 100 million quid just for being in the Premier League. The 20th club in the Premier League will get 100 million quid. In France, it's going to be like 4 or 5 million euros.
Jesus.
If that. It's a massive difference.
Yeah.
That's why Crystal Palace are making more money than most.
Yeah.
And Crystal Palace are a mid-table club.
Yeah, I think we just got 42. I think it's like 40 million for getting through to the knockouts of the Champions League and stuff like that.
Exactly.
It's
just for the group stage. So the broadcasting situation is crazy, but that's what's potential. It's potential. If piracy increases, if no one pays for the subscribers, Sky are going to go, you know what, this is not worth it for us. And then the Premier League are going to be in a spot. So we'll see. It's expensive right now. The Premier League are sitting pretty right now, but give it 2 or 3 right cycles, 6 years time. Honestly,
who knows?
The whole piracy thing is interesting. It is when you lay out how many subscriptions you need for everything. It's hard not to feel sympathetic for like the
definitely.
Like that's the thing. That's where the funny balance between the business, the clubs, and the fans really comes in, because eventually the fans go, well, actually, you are mugging us off a little bit because you've demanded that we pay for this, and then sort of blackmailed us and told us we're illegal, we're committing crimes if we're not following your heavily shareholder-based business interests. So yeah, that's where I think the fascinating balance between clubs and fans.
If you're a fan of a Premier League club, for example, and I'll take Spurs as an example, but how much I pay. I pay just over £1,000 for my season ticket, and then if you're then paying on top of that to go to all the home games, then if you had Sky, TNT, Amazon Prime. And then if you had, I use Peacock, which is a US streaming service, and a VPN to watch 3 o'clock game, which is not illegal, by the way, I don't think. That's over. If you add £1,000 for the season, it's probably like
£2.5 grand, £3 grand.
So yeah, it's over 100 quid a month, like 150 quid a month probably for every subscription. It's crazy. It's like an insane amount of money to have everything. And that's the thing with football. It's like, especially when you know, a lot of just fans are the same. But if you work in the football media space and stuff like that, you feel like you've got to be on top of everything, watching all the games and all those things. It's like insane amounts of money to keep on top of everything.
The cost of life has gone up. And if I can get a stick, a Chromecast or a Fire Stick for 100 quid
a year,
and I can get anything that I want, fine. It might buffer from time to time. I might be 30 seconds behind real time. Yeah. Fine. Someone in the group chat might text me who does pay for Sky a little bit before I see the goal.
Yeah, do not disturb. It's your best friend in that situation.
Sure. But if it's going to save me that much money.
Of course, yeah.
Can I just say, we're not saying to people at home you should go out and get a Fire Stick. That's absolutely not what.
Disclaimer: I pay for all of this stuff. Yeah. Maybe I'm the muck.
Yeah,
maybe I'm the muck. But I understand it, and I did a video on this. 100%. Basically, piracy is not a pricing problem; it's a service problem. That's like a famous quote. And generally, fans, like you said, are saying, for the money that I'm paying, I'm not getting the service that I need. I can't see every single game. It's disjointed. I'm fragmented about where I have to go to watch a game. There's going to be coming to a head.
It's apps.
Gen Z aren't watching 90 minutes anymore. They're all watching highlights.
that's
and stuff
true.
like
Yeah.
that. The consumption is changing. Economics are changing. Personal finance is changing. Purchasing power is changing. Some things are going to change soon.
The price of like the American subscriptions to watch the Premier League is absolutely insane compared to
Even
Sky.
Australia, you pay a £5 a month.
Yeah, Peacock is like that for the US.
Everything.
It's like £8 a month, and I don't think it's every single Premier League game because I tried to watch Spurs against Burnley and I couldn't last week. But I think it's like 80% of the Premier League games, and it's just like £7 or £8 a month.
Just to go back to what you said,
Insane.
is there actual statistical evidence to suggest that people are just not watching 90 minutes anymore? Because surely is that. I don't think that was driven necessarily by social media. I just thought that's driven by the inability to access.
Do you not catch yourself in the... I did this recently.
Yeah.
I was watching Chelsea-Arsenal, obviously, just a couple of days ago. I catch myself on my phone so consistently.
The game was incredibly boring, though, to be fair.
But it happens all the time, mate. It happens
you are
all
right.
the time. I'm constantly maybe not watching. Obviously, if you're there in person, I'm not like, oh, ignore
Yeah,
this.
yeah. If you're
But
at the
especially on
game,
TV, I'm watching it less and less. now.
Highlights
No, I
and
do
clips through the roof. 90-minute consumption going down, and weirdly, in-person live events going up. It's a weird shift.
What, going to stay
Going
into
to games.
That correlation makes no sense.
And
does it?
wanting in-person experiences is going up. It's fascinating, actually.
That's crazy. When you get people's attention spans going down. How long have Sky done the 3-min Premier League highlights? About 5 years.
It's when we were still at Sky, so about 5
They
years
have just
now,
done
6 years.
like that 15 minutes after the end of the game. That's changed the game. I think a lot. Although weirdly, I saw the other day that apparently Match of the Day's viewing figures are like
Oh yeah, they've done
as
really
strong
well.
as they.
Down on TV, but up online.
Right. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Always find
Is
that
that because they've segmented because obviously they've got the option now. You can just watch the individual.
The
package
headline
of one
number
game.
was Match of the Day is doing really well. The consumption was linearly at 10:35 on BBC One, down, up big time on iPlayer.
on digital. Right. Okay, cool, yeah.
Big time.
Because I think it doesn't, it's not shocking that as people with busy lives and stuff like that, online being able to choose when you want to watch the games, it is it's a very good thing. And with the younger people now all into football, like it's not surprising that this is something that's happening.
Question for you all. Imagine you were the Premier League CEO. Obviously, there's so much more to it, and we can't make this conversation.
Yeah.
You get £3.5 billion a year right now just by saying yes to you, yes to you, yes to you, yes to you. We sit back and collect the money. Or you turn into a tech company. You could take that 3.5 and make it 5 billion a year, but you have to build the infrastructure
And how much do you spend a year?
and spending and the marketing and do you do it?
No, you're still taking the money from the trusted existing broadcasters, probably, aren't you?
I think it depends on if that 5 is 10, then I think it's an easy answer to say yes. I think it depends what is that number where they say yes, basically. Like I think you're right, 5 is maybe not enough to do it because I think you probably end up spending 2-3 billion a year maybe on everything, production, all the marketing, as we said, on tech company, everything. But if it is actually 10 billion, I think that answer changes quite quickly.
Yeah, I suppose as well, because then if there's more money coming into if they're spending more money, giving the clubs more money, there's bigger stars coming to the league, there's more eyes on the Premier League, all that kind of thing. So over time, they make more than make their money back. It's a tough one, isn't it?
I mean, I guess one of the good things about multiple broadcasters is like competition and
Yeah, definitely.
and that is important. I think again that's why when you look at Netflix trying to take over Warner Brothers at the moment, there is this sort of worry that everything's going to become slightly one-dimensional or under the Netflix glaze, as it were. So I do think I do wonder if competition law in this country would get to a point where like, no, actually you can't control everything. It's important to have these multiple relationship broadcasters just to drive even standards when it comes to the presentation of these shows and the offerings to the fans. So I wonder where that would come into play, because I do think I'm more skeptical about having sort of mega tech giants controlling the narrative on absolutely everything, and then that's when I think you begin to see the weight of authority pulled even further away from the fans when you've got this one giant who can kind of dictate and point to everything. So for me, probably not. I actually think it's healthy being in a relationship where you have these multiple different companies with different interests having to work together and find a middle ground to produce the best product possible.
Let's see what happens with Sky. Sky are owned by Comcast. They're struggling right now. Let's see if Sky's subscriptions maintain at the level they need to maintain the value of the broadcast rights at the moment. Remains to be seen. One thing I'm surprised that the Premier League haven't done is introduce the middle ground. I don't know if you guys are Formula One fans, but there's like a F1 TV or like a NFL Game Pass where you can pay extra, another subscription, but you can get like everything if you want to. That's for like the deep fans or the nerds that like really want to watch everything. I'm surprised the Premier League haven't done that. Or maybe there's like you support Spurs. You can pay 500 quid and you get every Spurs game specifically like to an app that you can build or something of that nature. there's a few middle grounds here, but it's going to be an interesting next 10 years.
It is.
It's fascinating.
Well, then I think maybe we'll finalise on this point on kind of the future of football.
Yeah.
We've mentioned it there in terms of maybe the broadcast rights. Where else do you see it going? It felt like for a long time, it was we're just going to see transfer fees going 100 million, 150 million, 200 million. That actually has possibly slowed down in ways now, especially with other clubs around the world not having this same kind of money. Where do you see maybe the money in football, the wages, the I guess the fees that people pay? Where do we see it? Because whilst yes, we aren't maybe getting 150s, we are seeing a lot more 50 millions, 60 millions here, there, and everywhere, especially for the likes of lower down Premier League clubs.
So as an extension of this, let's just say the broadcast money is plateauing across, let's just say Europe. We're based in Europe. Let's say it's plateauing. It's not going up, it's not going down. Therefore, all of a sudden, clubs who have been used to the last 10 years getting more and more money just for being in the top leagues, that money isn't going to increase. It's not going to go down, but it's not going to go up. Clubs need to make more and more money every single year. It's just the way capitalism works. I need to make more than I did last year. I can't be declining. I need to be going up. So there's two other ways in which clubs can make money. One is with commercial deals, and one is with match day revenue. I think a big thing we're going to start seeing, we're already seeing it already, you guys are leading the path on this, stadiums are going to become so much more important for teams. Controlling the land around...
Everyone's building a new stadium.
Everyone's building a new stadium.
Yeah.
Controlling the land around your stadium, adding a hotel, a co-working space, a park, offices, something like that, allows you to make more money as a club, to not rely on the broadcast revenues that we've literally just spoken about. And you guys, the match day revenue, the delta from what it was before to what it is now is actually through the roof.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's insane.
And we're building a hotel, we're doing all these other things as well.
That's going to be ready before Euro 2028.
Yeah.
The hotel's not even open yet.
Exactly.
So that's another thing coming. You guys, I think you applied to get more like non-footballing events in a calendar year. Now you got Lady Gaga there, you got 50 Cent there performing last summer or whatever. Rihanna's like, there's so, I went to see Beyonce.
I was going to say, I think Beyonce did that too.
Like, it's going to happen. Atletico Madrid have just announced crazy plans around the Wanda, well, it's not the Wanda anymore, the Metropolitano, to completely revolutionize that. Of course, we saw what Real Madrid have done in Madrid.
Yeah, the Camp Nou's a new one.
Right. After a year, Jim Ratcliffe came through and said, Man United. I remember that graphic, the new stadium or whatever.
The circus tent.
Yeah. Nothing's happened since then, but like that was like a very big thing for them in their ownership structure. Like, we need to make more money and control the revenues more. So I think stadiums are going to become a massive thing.
Yeah, Chelsea, Stamford Bridge, they're desperate for a new one, aren't they?
Yeah, but it's about pitch owners, isn't it? It's like impossible to get out there.
It's about, I think maybe it was Fiorentina that I was looking at the other day. It was certainly one of those kind of middle clubs, but they just realised it's not about just 90 minutes, turn up, buy a drink, have a bit of food,
How
go
long can you
home.
keep
It's
them there?
about
Spend the
controlling
money.
the entire match day experience. It's about making it, you will come here early, you will eat your lunch here, you'll buy your drinks, and at the end of this, you'll go to our bars and you'll do this and do this. It's about making that
Get the programme.
like 12-hour day on which that stadium is bringing in as much money as possible. And I think I'm not against that at all. I think it's really, really interesting. And this is where like Italy really needs to hurry up, because Juve managed to do it, Atalanta have managed to do it, and the rest of these Italian teams, they're struggling because there's so many money's going into so many different pockets in Italy. It's actually quite hard to like get the planning permission to build new stadiums. But once these Italian teams wake up and catch up with the rest of Europe, and even I think it's even Celta Vigo, if you look at like their new stadium, really fascinating stuff. You're right. That's when, going back to what we were talking earlier about other leagues catching up with the Premier League, that's when it could be massive as well. Because actually, like everyone makes a big deal about the Premier League's ability to buy players. Like you got to buy good players, and this is where a lot of the other leagues in Europe are invested in their academies, have invested in their scouting networks to make sure that they're beating the Premier League to the punch with these young players, developing them, and then maybe selling for a premium, and then hoovering up some of like the guys that don't quite make it that come back in. Once they can add in that stadium revenue into their ability to function, then I think we'll start seeing the gap closing, because the Premier League, for all their money and smartness, they're not always the best at buying players. Like there's a reason that someone like Tony Bloom's come in and done so successful.
Well, you said about Tony Bloom and even Brighton. I went to Brighton away earlier on this season, and they have completely over the last few years transformed their stadium in terms of the match day experience. They've got a huge right next to the stadium. There's this huge bar. It's almost like a box park, basically on the site of the Amex, where like people go before the game, people go after the game. Again, Spurs have probably become the masters of that in terms of ring fencing the revenue, in terms of like people might not go to the pub anymore, they'll just go and drink in the stadium because it's open 3 hours before kickoff.
Spurs
and
have
after
nailed
the
it.
game, like they have. And that's the thing that frustrates me, is that everything as a fan, everything is there for Spurs to be really successful. But it's the attitude, the decision making, and the lack of investment actually from the owners that are letting down what is an incredibly successful model. Because even when we're crap like we are now, the bar's kind of regardless of, and it's something that pisses me off as a fan of, like, we've just lost, and you're seeing people just like line the pockets of the people who are running the football club, who are making these bad decisions and drinking in the bars and stuff after the game. But that is the incredibly successful model that they've created, that it doesn't really matter how successful Tottenham are at the moment, as long as we keep our heads above water in the Premier League, they will just continue to make shed loads and shed loads of money year on year, game on game. And it's just, that's the frustrating part of it as a pure fan, but it makes total sense from a business perspective.
Even AFC Wimbledon. Have you been there? Have you been to the bar, their stadium bar afterwards? It's class. Like, it's actually really,
every club is
really
doing it
nice.
now. I think Villa have realised as well, because
Chelsea have tried to. Chelsea tried to build their own pub inside Stamford Bridge. Tried to,
I know we joke about the United stadium design, but I think that would be incredible. Like, if they fulfil the vision which they've set out to, then that stadium and that kind of Man United, it's going to be like a theme park, basically. Yeah, so,
just like the Ferrari world.
Yeah. Again, the numbers specific, I might be a 10 or 5 million off here. Real Madrid made about 120 million euros a year in match day revenue at the old Bernabeu. They now make 250. So just the new stadium, they're making an extra 120 million euros a year.
That's incredible.
Just off the new stadium and everything that comes with it. And I don't think they've really maximized the commercial value of it yet. They're still going. It's like 3 years in, I think, at this point. Like, that's 120 million euros a year on the books, which allows you to spend more with FFP calculations, spend more players. And of course, don't get me wrong, it helps the players as well. They're going, oh shit, I'm playing in the best stadium in Europe. There's an element of that for them. Spurs, I think it went from something like 70 million a year match day to like 130. It's like literally 2x your match day revenue. And I think you're still going as well. Haven't even sold the naming rights yet.
No.
You can get an extra 15, 20 million quid a year for that. And the hotel's still coming. There's so much more. And that is, you said, what's happening in the future of football. Clubs are going to be way more invested in how can we make money outside of the broadcast. And that will come with commercial things, by the way. If you're getting people in the door at 12 and the game starts at 5:30 and they're leaving at 10, commercially, what are you going to see in the infrastructure if, whoever your front of shirt sponsor is, like, littered around the whole thing? Man United are owned by, sponsored by Snapdragon. It's like a tech company. You can put so much, like, they're owned by a company called Qualcomm. You can put so much tech in the surrounding areas. There's way more activations you can do. The commercial conversations are far deeper.
Yeah.
That's what I think is going to happen.
And charge far
So I
more.
think more money is going to go into these clubs long term, which will mean more transfer fees, more wages.
Yeah.
Maybe you lose the soul a little bit because it becomes very commercial. But I also think you can kind of get it back with the community aspect, with the
bigger places,
fan experience and stuff as well. So
it just feels so different, doesn't it?
It does.
But then it's like, I think Villa and Newcastle have realised that now, because Newcastle are drawing up plans for a new stadium potentially as well, which is, crazy really when you think about the history that St James's Park has had. And also they're a one club city, so they've kind of got the monopoly on everything. It's so fascinating when you go to Newcastle away. Everyone's got a Newcastle shirt. Like every single person, it's a one club city and all that kind of stuff. But even they, who have obviously come in and been bought by a state, and there's a lot of money trying to be pumped into the football club, but because of the way that PSR is, they can't do that. And I think PSR is a good thing in that aspect, but they are realising that the game has changed and it's not just about that amount of money that's coming in. Villa are also doing a lot more non-football events at Villa 100%. Park and concerts and all those kind of things. And I don't know whether they're redeveloping around the stadium or whatever, but it wouldn't surprise me if 5-10 years Villa draw up plans for a new stadium as well, follow the model of what Spurs have done, what United are doing.
Everton just got a new stadium.
Everton. Chelsea obviously is a difficult one with the Chelsea pitch owners, isn't it? But
I mean, I don't really know how that will work out, to be honest. Obviously years ago they were looking at Battersea Power Station.
That would have been the sickest stadium of all time.
It was
It would be
Earls Court as well.
Earls Court, as you said, they can't leave the pitch legally unless they want to still be called Chelsea, which I think is a big thing.
I swear you're being held back by a few residents who are just like being real.
That actually got sorted. That did get sorted in the end. Because one of the things as well, Chelsea under Roman were very close to building a new stadium. And then obviously the government...
want to make it all out brick or something?
I'm not so sure about that. But basically, do you remember before the Rush stuff happened with Ukraine and everything, Chelsea, the United Kingdom did kick Roman Abramovich out of the country. Yeah. And then he basically was like, well, I'm not going to bring all these jobs. I'm not getting emotional. I've just got a block. I've got a block nose. I've got a block nose. He was like, yeah, why would I bring all these jobs to a place that I can't even go to, so on and so forth. Yeah. So, Chelsea is a unique, really, really unique scenario in that. But the same thing. They want a bigger stadium because they don't make anywhere near enough match day revenue. You know, Stamford Bridge is a 42,000
The delta
seater.
between Chelsea match day. to
Even we've got a more
It's crazy.
update stand than you these days.
You've got a jacuzzi or whatever on your roof.
You got a Soho House membership at the top as well.
Yeah.
Really quickly, 2 quick fire ones, then Jordan, just before we go. This is maybe more for my own self, but I think the guys at home will also.
Will Chelsea
appreciate
ever
it.
win the league?
No, yeah, will they? Will they?
Are we being left behind?
When will they? But also, no. One is about Chelsea. Front of shirt.
Yeah.
Chelsea haven't had a front of shirt sponsor for years now. There's been rumours about one. There was stuff about Paramount possibly being it.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. There's been loads of different rumours. Obviously, they want more money than what they're getting.
Correct.
Is there more to it than just that?
No, I think it's that. After a few rocky years at Chelsea, the value of the Chelsea front of shirts property has kind of diminished a little bit. I think Man United make something about $70 million a year from Snapdragon. Who knows what City get from Etihad?
Yeah, legally.
It's not what they're telling you.
Big grey. But the top clubs will probably get in that realm. The $75 million a year from the front of shirt sponsor. It's a very hot property. It's the biggest property from a sponsorship level that a club can have. Chelsea's value is diminished to around 45, 50, and they think that it's worth more. So most of these deals are like 5-year deals.
Yeah.
So if you're getting 75 over 5 years, it's like decent money. And Chelsea are like, we are willing to back ourselves to not sell ourselves short and wait for the right deal.
How long can they wait until they've missed out on
Rumors
money?
say that this summer they've like locked something down starting next year.
Okay.
They took a very short-term Damac deal, like the
last season,
Dubai thing. I'm pretty sure they paid a lot of money for 10 games or whatever they got. But they're like, listen, we're not going to sell ourselves short. If we do a 5-year deal at 50, that's 250. But a 5-year deal at 75 is like a material difference.
Yeah.
It's material difference. It's $125 million over the 5-year period. And it also like resets the benchmark of what the value of our shirt is. And we don't want to lower ourselves. So I think it's purely a commercial thing.
Okay.
And I think Todd Bowley is going, we'll ride it out.
Okay.
I just
you know what? I was going to say, what I really appreciate if they just did like a charity thing on there. Like, you know, Barcelona had UNICEF for years. Didn't they? I think that was such a nice, like,
Football clubs
meet
don't
of the
have any
world.
souls.
No, I was going to say, well, I was on the Barcelona thing, actually, it's kind of relevant to the thing I was going to say about Spurs. So Spurs' deal with AIA is apparently worth around £40 million a year.
It's changing.
It's changing
Next summer.
at the end of next season, and AIA will still be our training kit sponsor, but I do wonder if, a little bit like what Barcelona have done with Spotify and the Camp Nou, I wonder whether, obviously you spoke about the naming rights earlier, whether that'll be a huge package
combined
deal
thing.
like the
Maybe.
Emirates already had, where
Maybe.
Spurs get naming rights and the front of shirt
it makes
sponsor for a
sense.
long time.
You get 100 million.
Yeah.
Together,
The Netflix arena would be pretty sweet. So,
In the championship as well. In the championship as well. My final one, you
that
can
a
keep
bit.
this really short, Jordan. If you were someone with lots of money, would you buy a football club?
No. No. So a few people in my community are like sports owners.
Right.
And I asked them the same question, like, why did you do this? At the moment, sport, I'd say, is like 85%, or football is like 85% like revenue based and like 15% emotion.
Yeah.
But there is like, that 15% emotion is like really strong sometimes. So you get like a wealthy benefactor from America who sees the passion of Premier League fans and they're like, oh my God, I'd love to own an English football club or a Premier League club or a Premier League club as they call it. they do that. But honestly, like, I think it's something like 60 of the 92 teams in the English Football League are losing money every single year. Like it's a shit business from pounds and pence perspective. So no, I wouldn't do it. There's some really good success stories. All of these companies who signed and bought clubs at the beginning of the 2000s, FSG, Glazers, even Enid to an extent, they've made loads of money in the last 20 years. The next 20 years, are they going to make the same multiples as they did? I'd say not. So I'd stay clear and be a fan and have my dodgy sticker.
Amazing. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Jordan, thank you so much for coming on Nothing But Football.
Thank you for having
We really do appreciate it. It's been a really fun chat. And again, super, super interesting. I hope you guys at home have learned lots as well. Jordan, if people at home would like to check you out, where can they go?
Thank you for having me, guys. I really enjoyed it. My name's Jordan. My platform is called The Long Play. On YouTube, search The Long Play. You'll find me. On Instagram, The Long Play UK. On TikTok, The Long Play UK. But I have a newsletter. I have a Substack, thelongplay.substack.com. You can get all of these insights every week. Monday, 11 a.m. UK time, I'll send you an email breaking down what's going on in the business of sport. If you like the numbers, if you like the commercial side of things, I'm your man. And there's a lot this summer for the World Cup. So The Long Play is my platform.
Incredible. It'll be linked down in the description below. Ben, where can they see you?
Yeah, that was great, mate. I really enjoyed that. That was really good. My YouTube's Ben Bowman. You'll find me on there, uploading daily. TikTok as well, Ben Bowman. Instagram, Ben Bowman as well. Just daily Spurs content, daily football content, whatever you want. Go and check it out.
Hennes?
Yeah. you know where I am, Football Joe. Come watch the quiz, I guess. And other things. And that was awesome. I love this kind of side of football. I think people can get so obsessed with what's going on the pitch, but it's such a different beast these days. Football clubs, so it's good to crack that open. So thank you, Jordan.
Thanks, chaps. Thank you.
Amazing. Guys, thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe, like. We'll see you next week. Bye.